Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started? Hi, everybody. It's David Breslau with MerlinOne. My colleague Randy Simpson's on the call with us, and welcome to today's Wednesday, May 18th chat with a Merlin expert, and we're going to talk about sharing content today. As usual, I wanted to go over the webinar guidelines. We want to make this short and sweet for everybody. We're going to record this. I will do my short presentation, hope around 15 minutes or so, and then we'll leave the other half open for your questions, which may or may not be related to what I have to show you today. You should ask your questions in the webinar chat window. Questions, as I said, don't have to be related to today's topic. So today's topic is sharing content in Merlin. And why would you want to share content? Well, sharing content is one of the reasons why you have a DAM in the first place. You want to be able to collaborate with your coworkers who may be internal users. You may want to deliver content to external users. And you also may want to allow external users access to your to the content that you've got on your DAM. So there are lots of good reasons to want to share content to your Merlin system or any DAM system for that matter. And so what I want to do is talk about how we're going to share content. So I want to talk about different ways of sharing content, and then we'll actually go into Merlin and show you how we do that. So to share content with internal users, and what I mean by internal users, users that have an account of some sort on the Merlin system, which means they can log in either through a local account or through maybe an Active Directory or a SAML account, but they're able to access the Merlin server. So for internal users, you have the ability to share a Merlin collection or project or lightbox, whatever you want to call that. You can also modify the collection viewership. So you actually have a collection in Merlin and maybe you want a wider audience to see it that normally can't see it. Similarly, you can share a saved search in Merlin. So you can set up a saved search and you can actually email somebody a link to that saved search, just like you can a collection, and they can click on the link, and I'll show you how this is done, and it will take you to the search in Merlin. You can also modify the saved search viewership, just like you did with the collection. And the last thing that you can do, and this has been a feature that we've had for some time, even going back to Webmaster, our older web client, you can use the Merlin alert feature where you can set up a saved search and have an alert triggered anytime new content comes in. So that's something that's very easy to configure, and I'll remind you how to do that. You can also share content to external users. So these might be people that don't have access to Merlin directly. For customers that are using our hosted facility, no other extra work is needed because your Merlins live out on the internet behind our firewall, but they are on the internet, so you can email links to people. And so you can send a link to one or more items to external users. They will get the link in their email. You're not sending the content itself, you're strictly sending a URL that they can click on, and it's good for a defined period of time, and then the information, the photos will download through the web browser. You can also send a contact sheet to somebody, up to 200 items per contact sheet. And you can also share content on social media like Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. So that's a way to share content with external users. Finally, there's a way to share content with special users using our recipient workflow. And again, this is not a new feature. It's been in Merlin for quite some time, but it allows you to create an account for a user and allow that user to log in and only see the content that you have assigned to that particular user. So this is a great way to share content. Some of our customers use this to share content to, for example, newspapers or the news media, so that the news media can log in and see their latest pictures for some topic, and then they can choose what they want to download rather than being limited to what they're allowed to. Rather than just sending them a few pictures, you can give them access to 100 photos, and they can choose what they want. So that's enough about, that's kind of the overview. Why don't we go ahead and show you how we do some of these things. I see someone's got a question. Let me see. Oh, the question went away. Jan, I totally zapped your question. I didn't mean to do that.
I got it.
You got it?
It's fine. He was just saying hello.
Oh, okay. Hello, Jan. I appreciate that. So let's talk about the first type of sharing content. This with internal users. So we're going to presume the user has an account on Merlin that you want to share with. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my right-hand sidebar, which had previously been closed. And so I've got these collections here. And so, for example, I've got this collection called Barn Project. And if I want to click on it, I can see the content of my barn project. So you can see I've got these 10 items. And so if I want someone else to have access to these 10 items, at the bottom of my collection palette, I have a tool icon here. And if I click on the tool icon, I can say I'd like to email a link to somebody. So you choose the collection that you'd like to share, in this case, Barn Project. I'm going to choose email link, and I get a dialog box that pops up where I can populate an email address, send to, a copy. I can also change the subject here. Here are the barn photos you asked for. And you could add additional text down here as well, and basically click send, and Merlin will send the email to the recipients that you've listed here, and the email will include only a link back to the collection. When they click on the link, they will be forced to log into Merlin, and then it will take them straight away to the collection as if they had logged in and gone and navigated to the Barn Project and double-clicked on it. Okay? Now, taking it a step further, one of the new features that's coming in the next release of our web client is the ability to add comments. And you can see my new commenting icon that's appearing at the bottom of my collections palette. And so I can click on this, and I can actually add a comment to the barn. Okay, and when I click send, so now I'm creating a commenting thread that people can use. Okay, so that's kind of a nice new feature to aid in the collaboration. So you could actually, someone could log in, and because the commenting icon has turned red, you know there's some comments associated with it. And what's really cool is the picture that shows up here associated with it. I've used a generic picture in this case because I was making some screenshots, but you could make your own photo show up here if you wanted to. So, and you can also create your own user-friendly name in addition to your login name. So if your login name might be something obscure, but you could put your own friendly name in here so that people know who's really making the comment. So I did want to share that with you. We treat Save Searches exactly the same way. You'll notice at the bottom of the Save Search palette, there's a tool icon. And from the tool icon, I could say I'd like to email a link. And so you, again, you fill out the form, click send, and it's going to send a link to users, to the recipients, and they click on the link, they log in, and it will take them straight away and run the search. So again, it kind of streamlines the collaboration process. So I wanted to talk about that. The other thing that you can do is you can actually modify sorry, I needed a little swallow of water. You can actually modify who's allowed to see a shared collection or a shared search. And the way you do that is you click on it, and again, go back to the tool icon at the bottom of the palette, and you can view the groups. And so you can see that I am allowed to view, if I'm a member of any of these user groups in Merlin, I'm allowed to view this collection. And I'm also allowed to edit this collection if I belong to these groups. And so if I wanted, for example, Merlin users to not be able to edit these groups and Merlin Photo to not be able to edit this collection, I can limit what users are allowed, which users are allowed to edit the collection. And all I have to do is click on Save. And so if I'm a member of Merlin users only, I could view this collection because of this permission, but I can't edit this collection because I'm not enabled down here. And again, if you want to add another group to this collection, just click the plus button and you'd be able to go through and say, oh, well, yeah, I'd like this Facebook group to also have permission to do that. And then you'd be able to scroll down and add that and save them to your list here, and then click Save the Settings. And you get the growls in the upper right-hand corner indicating that you were successful in doing what you wanted to do here. So that's kind of a nice thing to be able to do as well. So you can be really, really granular. And again, this is a new feature that will be in the next release of our software, where so that you control who's allowed to see collections and who's allowed to edit them. The last thing I wanted to show you may be a bit of a refresher. So for example, I've got a search here. Let me scroll down to, well, here. Let's do this search, DGB last year. This is basically a search for my name in the author field or byline field from the last 365 days. And so if I wanted to, again, going down to my tool icon at the bottom of my search palette, I can create an alert. And you can see that there's already an alert created for that particular saved search, and it's created by me. And here's the email address the alert is set up to send to, with, again, my email address. And the last time it alerted was today, only a few minutes ago, okay? And so you can see that it checks it several times an hour, and then it sends an alert. So you can see that it was last checked just a minute or so ago, and here you can see that it sent an alert at 9 o'clock this morning, because that's the last time there were new results that met this search criteria. So if I also wanted Randy to get this alert, I could add her to the list and save the changes. And now Randy also gets added to this list of alerts. And so again, if I were to upload new content where my name appears in the byline field, because that's the search we ran over here on the left-hand side, right? This is the search. So every time something new comes in that I shoot, Randy will get an alert. So that's a little bit about Merlin Alerter. Okay, I'm just going to check here to see if any questions. Oh, we don't have comments. That is something, comments is new and it's only available. And so John, that's a great question. Comments is a brand new feature and will be available probably around the end of July sometime. So that's what we're working on. And I'm not able to see a cog at the bottom of collections. I see an email icon and a clock icon. Yes, the cog is in the newer release. Thank you, Jackie. That's a great question. The cog was in the newer release because as we start to get more and more tools and features, the interface starts to get a little bit bloated, and so we're trying to combine tools into a single tool set. And so some of you might have multiple tools down here that basically do the same thing that I've got in a single tool, and we've created pick lists. Same thing we did up here with the edits tool. You might recall there used to be multiple edit functions across the top, but as we've added new editing functions like find and replace and edit multiple, it started to get a little clunky, and so we're trying to keep it streamlined as much as we can. Okay. Let's talk about sharing content with external users. So these are users that do not have access to your Merlin system, right? So let's say I've got this particular photo, or maybe these 2 barn photos I want to share, or these 4 barn photos I want to share with an external user, okay? So I can go to my export command, my export menu item, and I can choose email a link, okay? And again, I can type in 1 or more email addresses, and then when I click send, the recipient of the email is going to get an email, not with the 4 photos, but a link to the 4 photos that they can click on, and the 4 photos will be delivered to their local computer, okay? So that's pretty much how you can do that. The other thing that you can do is send a contact sheet to somebody. And you can see this is real easy for me to do. I can click email previews. That's basically the same as a contact sheet. And I'm going to click on this, and you can see it built a contact sheet for me of everything that I had up on my screen. A contact sheet is limited to 200 items. If you select more than 200 items, you will get a warning message saying you need to find a way to get your selection down to less than 200. Probably the easiest way to do that is drag and drop what you want into a collection. I'm going to click cancel. I'm going to click cancel. So for example, if I go to my Elephant Parade collection, I've only got one item in here. Or if I go to Mike's Eagles, I have 12 items in here. And if I wanted to share a contact sheet with somebody, I can go to my export button, do email previews. Here are those 12 eagle photos. Again, I can type in the email address, who it's copied to, if you want to, a subject, so you can edit this. Right now, it's defaulting to link to Merlin Search Grid, but you could make this be anything you want. And here's the description, collection Mike's Eagles. You can change this as well, plus you can add additional text. So we're proposing a subject, but you can change it. We're proposing a description, but you can change it. And then we've got another place where you can add additional information, and all of this is part of the email that gets sent to people. But again, at the bottom of the email is a link to the contact sheet itself. So once again, we are not sending the contact sheet itself through the email. We're only sending a link to the contact sheet. It's an HTML page that gets built in the background, and it lives on the server, and again, it lives there for the defined period of time. And you can make that defined period of time pretty much anything you wanted it to be. We had one customer set it to well more than 30 days. They said their folks are a little slow to get to stuff, so we set it to more than 30 days for them. So I'm going to cancel out of this. And I want to show you the last two ways, or the last three ways that you can share content to external users. You can post to Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube if you have permission to do that. Remember, Merlin, the web client, is very, very granular, and you can unplug each of these items. So you can make a user only have access to download, and you can take away access to a download link, or email link rather, or email previews, or Facebook, or Twitter, or YouTube. You can disable or enable each and every one of these for your users. Okay, so to post to Facebook, it's a simple matter of clicking to Facebook. If you're not already connected to Facebook, there's a connect button that appears. You use the connect button, you log in, and then you have your Facebook options here. So you can post to any page that you're entitled to work with. And so if I wanted to post this to a MerlinOne page, and I could add this to the timeline or not, and I could add in a comment. And I could click post, and it's going to post it to the MerlinOne Facebook page in this case, or to my personal Facebook page in this case. And since it's my private Facebook page, I have the viewable option that shows up, so I can choose who can see it. Only me, or friends of friends, or everyone. So it's that simple. I'm going to choose only me for right now, and I'm going to, I can't, it's not going to let me post it right now, but you can, I have to select an album. There we go. Now I can post it, and so it's actually requesting the post, and now it's allowing me to go directly to Facebook if I want to see it posted there. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Same thing with Twitter. I can connect to Twitter with my Twitter account. It's going to allow me to type in 140 characters, and the same thing with YouTube. And Merlin is smart enough to know that YouTube is looking for video, and so it's telling me, hey, go find a video, and you can share that up to YouTube as well. Okay, so that's a little bit about posting to external users. Then we have this special class of users. We call them recipient users. And so I'm going to open my metadata palette, and I'm going to expose the field that's called recipient. Okay, and so let's say, for example, I wanted to assign this picture to a special user. So you'd want to think about, well, what username do I want that person to have? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign it to a recipient that I'm already aware of. Let me turn editing on, And now I'm going to go down to recipient and type in DGB2. They are my recipient user, okay? And let's do it another way, but instead of doing it one item at a time, so you can see this is DGB2, let's take both of these eagle photos and assign them to DGB2 by using the edit multiple command. And again, I can go find my recipient field, type in DGB2, and again, I can choose to do a replace, an append, or a prepend. I'm just going to do an append and click apply. So it's just assigned those two items to DGB2 as well. So now if I log out and I log in as DGB2 and log in, I am only going to see items that have been assigned to that user. And there are roughly 70 items that have been assigned to the user DGB2. So even though I'm logging into a Merlin that has 500,000 items in it, look, it found 66 records, okay? And if I scroll down, here are the eagle photos that we just added, okay? So I've got these 66 records, and it doesn't matter how I search. It's only searching across the 66 records that I've got in this collection, okay? So it doesn't matter what I do, I'm only allowed to see the 66 items and nothing more. So this is a great way to give outside users a wide selection of content. Notice in this particular case, I've limited the tool set that this user has access to. They can use the compare tool, but they can't upload, they can't edit. My editing functions are gone, but they do have the ability to output. But again, I could go in and disable some of these output functions if I wanted to as well. So that's what I wanted to show you today. Let's see if you have any more questions.
Yeah, there's a bunch of questions,
okay.
Starting with Melissa.
Melissa says, when the external person receives the email, will it include any contextual information from the file, such as credit information? No, the emails will only include the information that you've included in the form and the link. So there's no other contextual information, but that's an interesting thought. Can you create a report of the shared content? Well, no, but you would be able to create a report. That's interesting. No, you would not be able to create a report of that, but you would be able to create a report of what those people have downloaded. That's an interesting thought, Jan. I'm taking a note down. Okay, in the Facebook post, so here's Melissa again, can you tag people or Facebook pages? Once it's in Facebook, you can do whatever you want with it, right? Because you'd have to go back to Facebook and add and tag the people separately. So you'd want to follow the link from Merlin to Facebook, and then you could do anything that you could normally do in Facebook. So I hope that answers that. Will the image have a history of whether it was posted to Facebook or Twitter? That is a great question, Maria. Yes, it will, because that is a type of export. So anything that you do from this export menu is a type of export, and Merlin's going to keep track of whether you did a download, an email link, a Facebook post, a Twitter post, or a YouTube post. And yes, that will show up in the history, and it will also show up in the download report. So it will show up as not only having been downloaded, but it will show up as having been downloaded to Facebook. Okay. Does assigning a recipient user override warning tag that would otherwise keep the record hidden? Ooh, good question. So you're asking if I assign a recipient user. Oh, no, actually it does not override it. So if you inadvertently assign something to a recipient who is not allowed to see it, that other filter would still be in place. The idea behind recipient is you're giving it to probably a user that doesn't belong to a group, because keep in mind that when I create a recipient user, it's typically someone that doesn't have Merlin access already, and so you're basically giving them a credential that only allows them to see the tagged items, and so there would be typically there could be, but typically there would be no filter associated with the recipient user. Let me show you how you add that user, because I left that little part out. Okay, so let me do that. Let me log back in as me and show you how to create a recipient user. Because that might be important. Yeah, so Vicky asked, are special users DBGB2 actually logging in? Yes, they are, but let me show you how you can bypass the login process as well if you want them to. They're still logging in, but they don't know they're logging in. But again, so as I can go to my users, and I can create, I'm going to wait for this to populate a moment. It takes a moment or two. Okay, so I've got all of these users down here, including my user DGB2. And you can see that the user DGB2 belongs to this special group called this recipient download. So if I wanted to create a user for Vicky, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear the form, and I'm just going to type in VM to keep it short. And I would type in Vicky's email address if I had it handy, and I can give Vicky a password, and I'm going to make it VM for short as well. And so let's do this. And this is a new feature that will be coming soon in the next release. You can set the password, the user account that you set up, you can set it up to expire. So that's kind of a cool thing, especially for recipient users. And so I've got all of these user groups here, and a lot more than you probably work with, but I've got this special group. I've got recipient browse, recipient download, recipient edit. I created these groups, but here, so I've got this group called recipient download, and I'm going to add it. Okay, and then I'm going to click save. And so now Vicky could log in, okay, but the other thing Vicky could do is take this string, okay, and copy it. And I'm just going to go to another browser window, so I'm going to just go to Google Chrome, and I'm going to paste that string in and hit return. And what it's going to do is it's going to totally bypass the login screen because it was included in that encrypted URL. And so I totally bypassed the login screen, and it's going to log me in. Since this is the first time this user has logged in, it's going to take a moment to download all the parts. But once the parts are here, it should load pretty quickly, but there won't be any results to look at. Okay, so I hope that made sense to everybody. So if an image is hidden with a warning, do not use tag, for instance, the recipient will be able to see the record. Yes, if they're allowed to. Well, if they're allowed to see the image, they would still be allowed. Yeah, that is correct. So there's no filters. So if you inadvertently, Jackie, take a do not use item and share it out to recipient users, yes, they would be able to see it. Okay. So Vicky says cool on what we've done, and Jan says great on the expiration date. So anyway, that's what I had to show you. Are there any other questions? Okay then. I'm a minute early, but since we've taken our 30 minutes, we've recorded the session. It'll be up on our YouTube page if you want to refer to it or any of the other Chat with an Experts we've done. So we'll get it up later today. If you have any other questions or if you have suggestions for our Chat with an Expert series, please feel free to let us know what you'd like to see or would like us to talk about. If I go back, let me just go back to my keynote here and show you that next month, Andy Daddio will be joining us. He used to work, he just recently left Colgate University where he was the manager of the dam system at Colgate. And so he'll be joining us next month. If you've got questions you'd like Andy to answer, please feel free to send them our way in advance or during the session. So we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, everybody. Have a happy Wednesday.